to Weather Unfiltered on this July 4th. I'm meteorologist Alex Wilson along with our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb.
Yeah, happy 4th of July, everyone. This is going to be a fun holiday weekend, but it's also going to be a weekend of preparation in places like Texas because Beryl is not just going away for the holiday.
No, and we've got something else we're going to keep an eye on in the tropics. So again, I know like a lot of you, this is the first day of a 4-day disassociate streak, but we can't totally, let our guard down. As you said, got to prepare for Beryl and possibly what else could come after.
And we can't say it enough times. Anybody who's going to the beach anywhere on the Gulf Coast from Texas to Florida this weekend, Beryl is going to be kicking up a high rip current risk. So even if the weather is good, the Gulf might be a bit angry.
We got to listen to those lifeguards. Want to give you a live look at Cancun now. Of course, some of the calling cards of these systems, especially ones that slow down, very heavy rain.
Now, I don't want anybody out there counting the minutes that we spend talking about the cone, and we're spending too much time on the cone.
Right.
But this cone, there's a lot of misinterpretation that there's a risk of happening here, and I want to make a number of points about the cone. One is, you already mentioned, the rain-induced flooding and the coastal flooding could be a fairly long duration event because this is going to be slowing down.
Right.
Look how long it takes.
Yeah, Monday into Tuesday morning, not moving very far.
No, that's bad news enough. Now, the other thing is, because of the angle of approach, you might be thinking, okay, up here near Victoria, well, if it's 75 miles an hour Monday morning and 35 miles an hour Tuesday morning, there's no way I'm getting a hurricane because it'll be weakened by that time. But this intensity forecast assumes the track goes right down the middle. If it goes the right side of the cone, it could still reach the middle Texas coast as a hurricane.
Right,
so
and it would have more time over water, too, if it stays on that left side or right side of the cone.
Yeah, so there's a lot to be concerned about here in the middle and lower Texas coast and inland areas because of that slow motion with the rainfall problem.
So if I'm in South Texas, we talk about the rain, that's going to be one of the threats. How concerned are you, though, with the wind? We've got pretty good infrastructure. We've got pretty good, codes. Do you think there's a chance this could get into a really strong hurricane to the point that we'd really have to worry about wind?
Well, I think any hurricane, even Cat 1 or 2, could, for those who don't have shutters, who don't have the stronger homes, could be a big, big problem. And you don't need a Cat 3 or stronger to have wind problems. So, yes, I think we should respect the wind issue that this could produce.
Yeah, so here we go. Future radar. Obviously, short term, we've talked a lot about. We've got to see what we deal with going into and coming out of the Yucatan. Then there's that heavy rain potential. So wind, you said tropical storm force winds later Sunday. When would the heaviest rain, I'm assuming, would be early next week?
Yeah, it would start late Sunday night, but more likely on Monday. And that's what this is reflecting. Sunday night into Monday morning is when the rain could start. But this risk could last into Monday, even Tuesday, because the slow motion of the system and the onshore flow is going to prolong the rainfall event. And the models are getting concerning with how much rain they're spitting out in the deep South Texas area that is so flood vulnerable.
And we saw what this did into parts of Mexico, maybe a little farther north from Alberto, but still some very heavy rain coming down into some of these areas in northern Mexico.
Yeah, and generally the models are getting into a little bit better agreement. And if you were to take this forecast and shift for the possibilities of tracks being farther south or farther north, there's a lot of people I-10 southward that are at risk of rain-induced flooding, along with coastal flooding, along with the high risk of rip currents, because the ocean is going to be a problem here, too.
Something else you've pointed out is it doesn't have to be the ocean a problem right near landfall. We could see issues well away from
as soon as this is making landfall in Yucatan, the southerly flow through the Yucatan Channel is going to up the rip current risk starting Friday along the panhandle coast of Florida.
So we've got to listen to the lifeguards. Potential impacts basically for southwestern Gulf of Mexico Saturday.
Fire.
All right, and still to come on Weather Unfiltered. We're following the heat out west, but much more on Hurricane Beryl. Its uncertain future tracks. And of course, sail drones are a key tool for hurricane forecasters in their efforts to assess hurricane strength. They transmit data in real time from inside the storm at sea surface level. Jim Cantore explains.
Yeah, Beryl has kind of changed our expectations, that, now early season tropical waves are starting to form out in the deep tropical Atlantic. But even in the peak of season, even in the peak of past busy seasons, there are some tropical waves that go quietly along and then develop at the last minute. So that's what we have to watch out for, the possibility of that tropical wave. And it's always been about 2 days behind Beryl. So yesterday, Jamaica had Beryl. Tomorrow, they're going to have the impacts of this wave. So you only get like 1 day break with decent weather to deal with the immediate aftermath and cleanup.
And then tomorrow, get a little crummy again.
Tomorrow will be bad weather there. So there's a little bit more wind shear affecting this wave than what Beryl has dealt with in general. So conditions are just not generally as conducive for this one. But what Hurricane Center has been highlighting is maybe the chances aren't all that great in the Caribbean, but development could occur in the Gulf of Mexico, of all places.
This will follow a very similar path of Beryl, obviously not the same lifespan or life cycle, but kind of following truly in its footsteps.
Yeah, with enough ridging staying to the north that in these tropical waves, when they're not developing, they're not as tall, and so they go with the trade wind flow. And so here it is coming through into the Western Caribbean, 2 days behind the Beryl in Yucatan. The wave is coming into Yucatan, and there it is in the GFS Monday into Tuesday. Could it make a run at developing in the Southwest Gulf? At the very least, it adds more moisture to the rain problem that Beryl causes in Mexico and Texas.
Going to keep a close eye on this. We don't want to be caught off guard. We're not going to let you either. Coming up, our coverage continues on the